Blake Lively just destroyed her own case against Justin Baldoni, and I have the proof that I'm about to show you. So the footage everyone's been talking about, it actually shows she lied. The evidence she swore was true, completely made up. And now, everything is falling apart for her. This is another high-profile case that actually made me interested to cover it, because this is Blake Lively becoming the next Amber Heard right before our eyes.
I feel like maybe Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage and take power, so yeah.
So you believe Blake Lively wrestled control of the film?
I think she tried to, yes.
Did she succeed in the end?
Probably, yeah. I think that there was a massive compromise in terms of Justin's original vision for the film.
Look, I know why you're here. You've seen Blake Lively all over your feed. She's suing Justin Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds is in her corner, and she's hired one of the most powerful lawyers in America. On the surface, it looks like she's got this case in the bag, right? Wrong. New evidence has just surfaced that completely shatters Blake's story. I'm talking about video footage that proves she lied under oath. And now everything she's built this case on is falling apart. Let's break it down.
So congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, before we dive into how Blake destroyed her own case, you need to understand how this whole mess started. Don't worry, I'll keep it short, since most of you already know the basics. Back in 2023, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were filming It Ends With Us. And yes, they had creative differences, something that happens all the time on movie sets. But Blake didn't just leave it at that. She took it to a whole other level. And that's where things started to spiral out of control.
One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni was as follows, okay, from paragraph 48 of her complaint. She writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Ms. Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Ms. Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you."
Blake came forward accusing Justin Baldoni of sexual harassment. She claimed he made inappropriate sexual remarks on set, unwanted physical advances, and that he intimidated her throughout the entire production. These are serious, career-altering allegations. But she didn't stop there. Blake also alleged that Baldoni and his crisis PR team orchestrated a smear campaign against her, an attempt to destroy her reputation simply because she spoke up. Those are massive claims. She was essentially saying someone coordinated a plan to ruin her life. And she didn't just air these accusations on social media or in interviews. Blake filed a formal complaint with the California Civil Rights Department and then escalated matters by filing a federal lawsuit against Baldoni and his studio, Wayfarer Studios, citing sexual harassment and retaliation.
Now to the legal war between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. She's asking for over $160 million in damages.
Who and what we stand up for matters.
In newly unsealed documents, Blake claims Justin's alleged smear campaign cost her more than $56 million in lost work opportunities, $49 million in endorsements from her beauty brand, $22 million from her beverage companies. Justin's denied Blake's smear campaign claims.
But Justin Baldoni wasn't going to sit back and take these accusations quietly. He fought back, and he did it hard.
Baldoni, He has fought back yet again. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, which we had Brian Friedman on to discuss, saying it had done a defamatory report on Blake Lively's claims that she was allegedly harassed by this guy when they shot the movie It Ends With Us, a film about domestic violence. In that claim, they said the Times distorted the truth. They did not report text messages which were full and complete, which showed a very different meaning than the snippets that Blake Lively put in her complaint. And that what in fact happened was Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it, and used threats and coercion and bullying to do it. And to the point where this guy was in the basement at his own movie's premiere. Now, Brian Friedman has filed on behalf of Justin a lawsuit directly against Blake, Ryan Reynolds, and Leslie Sloan, their PR hack. And they're alleging not only did our PR team not hurt Blake or generate a campaign against Blake or do anything to hurt Blake in last August when she came under negative press. That was organic because of her own bad behavior. But you guys were the ones out there generating negative press against Justin. You bullies were the ones who were trying to ruin Justin so you could have your way on all the scenes and all the wardrobe and all the control, and you could feel like the producer and the director when you weren't.
Baldoni hit back with a $400 million countersuit. Let me say that again, $400 million. He sued Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist for civil extortion and defamation, alleging that Blake and Ryan tried to hijack control of the film and ruin his career in the process. Up until this point, most people assumed Blake had the upper hand. She had the legal system on her side, Ryan Reynolds publicly supporting her, and all the money, fame, and influence she could ask for. But in October 2025, everything changed.
Breaking news, a federal judge in New York dismisses Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively. Now It Ends With Us director and star filed that $400 million lawsuit against Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist, alleging extortion and defamation. Lively's attorneys just said in a statement, today's opinion is a total victory and a complete vindication for Blake Lively, along with those that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties dragged into their retaliatory lawsuit, including Ryan Reynolds.
Suit against the New York Times. On paper, it looked like a huge victory for Blake Lively. But here's the crucial part. The judge didn't dismiss the case because Blake was telling the truth. He dismissed it because legally, you can't countersue someone who's already filed a civil rights complaint. That's it. Blake didn't actually win anything. The case is still ongoing, and that's when things really start to unravel for her. So what did Blake do after the judge dismissed Baldoni's countersuit? She acted like she'd already won the entire war.
Red carpet moment at a Tribeca Festival dinner felt like a full-on victory lap. As a source today tells ET, she's feeling relieved, and husband Ryan is proud that she stood her ground.
Blake showed up at the Tribeca Festival dinner with the biggest smile on her face. She was beaming, posing for cameras, acting like someone who had just won the case of the century. Ryan Reynolds stood right beside her, looking proud and supportive, the perfect Hollywood power duo, at least in appearance.
Lively's euphoria is a little premature, and I guess I should tell you what she's saying. She's thrilled. You won't be surprised to hear. She's absolutely thrilled. I'm going to show you a video as she arrived Monday night at the Tribeca Festival. It's the artist's dinner. This is Monday. Here she is. Let's watch it. She's all smiles. She's clearly in a great mood. I mean, she's acting like she won the case in chief against him. She didn't. And nor did the judge find that Justin's allegations are untrue. The judge just said, basically, you can't sue her for allegations she makes in a complaint she filed with the Civil Rights Department. Can't sue her for defamation for that. It's covered by a privilege. He didn't say what she said was true. He didn't say Justin's likely to lose this case at trial, like the case against him. But she's acting like the judge did, and it's a lie. She comes out, this is per BuzzFeed, on her Instagram story. She referenced the 19 organizations that wrote amicus briefs in support of her, Friends of the Court. She began last week, I stood proudly alongside 19 organizations united in defending women's rights to speak up for their safety. Like so many others, I've felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us. While the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back. Okay, she's got $1 billion. Give me a break. I mean, like, it's absurd that any court would even consider making her pay Baldoni's legal fees, but he does not have $1 billion. Ryan Reynolds made that off of the sale of his liquor company, reportedly, never mind what they've earned as actors. I'm more resolved than ever to continue to stand for every woman's right to have a voice in protecting themselves, including their safety, their integrity, their dignity, and their story.
She even took to social media, thanking everyone who had stood by her. Blake made it sound like Baldoni was finished, that he'd lost and she'd won. Essentially, she declared victory before the trial had even begun. And I'm sitting here thinking, does she not understand how courts work? The dismissal of the countersuit doesn't prove her allegations true. It simply reflects the rules of the legal process. But Blake treated it like the Super Bowl. She acted like she'd already won the championship. That was a huge mistake, because the moment you act like you've already won and then evidence emerges that completely destroys your story, you end up looking even worse. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Remember Blake's claims that Baldoni acted inappropriately on set? She made it sound shocking, like harassment was obvious. Well, TMZ got their hands on the actual footage she was referencing, and it tells a very different story.
Guess what? TMZ has gotten its hands on that video, and you can hear Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni interacting as themselves, knowing that this is all on video and that this is going to be used to create this dance scene, and no such moment is shown. Just watch it. Watch it. Right, and then says, "It smells good," and she says, "It's my body makeup." That's her big harassment moment. They are playfully acting for the camera, trying to make it look like two lovers, two people in a relationship, are dancing with one another.
And here's the kicker. What does the video actually show? Absolutely nothing. I'm not exaggerating. The footage shows no inappropriate behavior at all. Zero, zilch, nothing. Once the public saw this video, people immediately started questioning Blake's entire story, because if she lied about this, what else could she be lying about? And honestly, it's hard to blame them. When video evidence directly contradicts your claims, that's a massive problem. Even Baldoni's lawyer weighed in with a statement, highlighting just how damaging this footage is.
Absolutely no feelings about this guy, Justin Baldoni. In fact, to be perfectly honest, I reviewed some of his social media, and he seems kind of ridiculous with his toxic masculinity, lamentations, and so on. But that's fine. That's me. So I'm not on his side. But my point is simply, I just don't see it. In their incendiary complaint, where they're trying to do their best to bash him and the PR team, I don't see that the second loop closed of, and then here's where they did it. It's just all supposition. They don't have these great texts saying, look what I got placed in the...
Baldoni's lawyer confirmed that from the very beginning, he made it clear he never intended to hurt Blake Lively. He wasn't trying to destroy her career or reputation. He simply wanted to defend himself against false accusations. And the public isn't buying Blake's story anymore. Not after seeing that footage. But it gets even worse for her. This is the part that really exposes how she may have sabotaged her entire case. One of Blake's most serious allegations involved a scene in the movie where her character undergoes a gynecological examination, a scene she claimed was one of the most disturbing parts of her story.
Remember she said that they made her perform the birth scene with like a slit covering up her lady parts. And then he brought on his best friend to play the doctor and let him linger down there below where he could check her out from a gynecological perspective. And then that actor came forward to say, this is such a lie. That's not true. She had on biker shorts the entire time. And by the way, I'm not just his buddy. I've been in all sorts of like Shakespearean productions and other big productions. And I'm insulted at their description of me just coming over as like an ogling buddy of Justin's. F off. Just yet another one of her obvious lies.
Blake claimed that during this scene, she wore what she described as a slit covering over her private areas. She alleged that Baldoni's best friend, the actor playing the doctor in the scene, could see everything, like literally everything. She made it sound as though she was completely exposed and vulnerable during filming. That's an incredibly serious allegation. If true, it would be utterly unacceptable on any film set. No actress should ever be put in that position. But then the actor who played the doctor came forward, and he completely demolished Blake's story.
Brian Friedman and Justin Baldoni are going to win this case. You don't have to take all 20 of her allegations. Pick your top 4, right? And show. You don't have to take Baldoni's word on the birth scene. Listen to Adam Monsheim, who is telling you he was there. And by the way, here are the raw film outtakes from the whole thing, where you can see she is wearing black shorts. She does not have just a thin piece of fabric separating her genitalia from everybody there. And let's sit and listen to her alleged multiple requests for a cover, which everyone blew her. I bet it's not going to.
He said Blake was wearing biker shorts during that scene. Not some thin covering, not something see-through, full biker shorts that covered everything. She was completely protected during filming. Now, think about this for a second. This isn't a minor detail. Blake didn't just misremember something. She specifically described what she was wearing and claimed she was exposed. And now we have a witness saying, nope, that's completely false. This is the slip-up I've been talking about. This is how Blake ruined her own case. If Baldoni's lawyers can prove she lied about this one thing, it casts doubt on everything else she said. It destroys her credibility as a witness. And here's the kicker. Blake had to know people would fact-check this. She knew other people were on set. She knew there were witnesses. So why lie about something so easily disproven? It makes you question what else in her story might not be true. At this point, Blake's case is already crumbling. The TMZ footage contradicts her, the gynecological scene story is proven false, public support is slipping. So what does she do next? She makes another massive mistake.
Lively is making a strategic legal move as her courtroom battle with Justin Baldoni inches closer. Blake Lively has brought on powerhouse attorney Sigrid McCauley, best known for representing Jeffrey Epstein's victims, ahead of her highly anticipated trial against Justin Baldoni. According to People, McCauley will focus on public and media communications tied to the case, joining Lively's existing legal team as they prepare for proceedings in New York. In a statement, McCauley said the case centers on a woman standing up against a hostile work environment, while Lively's attorneys praised her experience, quote, speaking truth to power.
In January 2026, Blake hired Sigrid McCauley. That name might sound familiar. She's the high-profile attorney who represented Jeffrey Epstein's victims. She's powerful, connected, exactly the kind of lawyer you'd want on your side. But here's the twist. Sigrid isn't handling Blake's legal case. She's not filing motions, arguing in court, or taking depositions. No, Sigrid is solely managing crisis PR. That's it. And here's where Blake's hypocrisy becomes staggering. Remember when she accused Baldoni of running a smear campaign? One of her main arguments was that Baldoni hired a crisis PR team, which supposedly proved he had something to hide. And now Blake does the exact same thing. She hires her own crisis PR team. By her own logic, that means she has something to hide. That makes her look like a complete hypocrite. The public notices this. They understand what's happening. You can't claim crisis PR equals guilt when someone else does it, and then turn around and do the same thing yourself. And if you thought this was wild enough, wait until we get to the Taylor Swift drama. Everyone knows Blake and Taylor are best friends. They post about each other, attend each other's events, a very public friendship. But now, that friendship might be Blake's biggest problem.
Happening, to the extent you can tell us, with Taylor Swift, because there was some reporting that you wanted to get the text messages between Blake Lively and Taylor, and that there was a potential for subpoenaing Taylor Swift, in this case via document subpoena, to get her texts and possibly even a deposition. And then that her father allegedly came to you and said, I will tell you what's in the text. And the reason I'll tell you is because Blake Lively's threatening my daughter, Taylor Swift, that if she doesn't speak out on Blake Lively's behalf, that Blake Lively's going to retaliate in some way. So tell us what you can.
Sure. Just out of respect for, people that aren't parties to the lawsuit. There's not a whole lot that I can get into. But I think that people who are relevant to the case and people who, have otherwise been with people from the beginning of the case, side by side, shoulder by shoulder, are potentially witnesses in the case. And so, those are things that we need to look into. Those are things to see, what, in addition to what we know already, we need, and then to move forward and obtain that discovery. There's a short leash on how far we can go with discovery. I think the judge has made it very clear that, third parties need to be directly relevant to claims. And we think certain third parties are directly relevant, but it's just whether or not you need that evidence in addition to what you have already.
Rumors are now surfacing that Taylor Swift's dad might hand over private messages between Blake and Taylor to Baldoni's legal team. And the reason behind it? Absolutely shocking. According to these rumors, Blake allegedly threatened Taylor, telling her that if she didn't publicly support Blake in the lawsuit, Blake would leak 10 years of their private messages. Can you imagine using your friendship as leverage like that? On top of that, Blake reportedly asked Taylor to delete messages between them. And think about that. If you're innocent, why would you ask your friend to erase private conversations? That alone screams guilty behavior. Now, to be clear, these are still rumors, but just the fact that they exist is already damaging to Blake's case.